Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amanda, and when I was 17, almost 18 years old, I left the cult that I was born into. I made a whole video about the escape. If you want to watch it, I have the link in the description box below for you. In my Twitter, I had someone ask me to make this video specifically, and so I retweeted it and asked everyone, would you guys want to see something like this? And I got a lot of responses, so it's been 3 weeks. I have been just taking a break from all of my social media just to catch up on my homework. Math's been fun, as you can see. It's taking a long time and I cry a lot, but I learn. Anyways, I'm still going to be taking a break from my social medias just until I pass my exam, and then I'll come back. So I'm going to get into my story of how I survived after leaving the cult that I was born into. I did my makeup all out today because I was trying to encourage myself not to cry.
I need to cry, but my foundation was $48.
I just don't want to cry. This story, you're going to be hearing this story through my lens. And there are other people that are involved in my story, and I'm going to try to leave them out as much as possible just in case they want to eventually share their story, or maybe they don't want me to talk about their personal stuff. If you remember in the last video how I talked about July 25th of 2013 was the day that I left. I had a friend who was in the order, but he also, it seemed like he was kind of like, remember how I talked about how people try to sit on the fence and they kind of like pretend they're in the order, but they go live an outside life in secret? He was doing that, and so he had an outside apartment, and he was actually the leader's son. So he said that I could rent a room there, and I ended up renting a room from him for about $225 a month. And remember, at this time I had snuck out $2,000 out of my bank account because I worked at the order bank. I figured out how to make fake authorizations, and I got $2,000 out of my account without anyone noticing. So I was living off of this $2,000. I don't know how to get a job because I've never had to write a resume, because all of my jobs have been handed to me ever since I was 8 years old, right? They just, here's where you're gonna work, now go work. So I don't know how, but I had the information of holding out help. I think someone snuck it to me. Maybe Colleen or Chanel, I don't know. Because I was secretly talking to them while I was in the order. I admired them, oh my gosh. I still do. I had the phone number of Holding Out Help, so I called them, and they are, I'll leave their website in the description box below. They're a charity that helps people that have come from these cults, especially because here in Utah, it's a pretty big deal. There's over 40,000 polygamists in Utah here alone. So Holding Out Help just helps people adjust. They helped me to write a resume and go around and ask for jobs. It's kind of an embarrassing, like, I didn't know how you were supposed to dress. I didn't know the professional level of it because I was just handed my jobs, you know, like, not really even wanting them. I just was forced to have them. So I kind of thought that was what it was going to be like. Like, I was going to walk in and they're going to be like, hey, go sweep up the back. So I was handing out resumes at Fashion Place Mall. And one of the managers I handed a resume to was like, for future reference, don't wear basketball shorts when you're handing out your resume to a potential workplace. And I was like, I felt really embarrassed enough to like still remember that moment that happened like 7.5 years ago. I feel like adjusting to the outside world was really hard. But at the same time, I was so excited that I was free, and like freedom was so fun. I could go wherever I wanted to go. I could do whatever I wanted to do, right? So it was like exhilarating just to be alive on the outside. I was struggling with my emotional problems, right? Like, I started to get severe PTSD and anxiety. I would have nightmares, and I would wake up in sweats almost every morning, thinking that I was back in the order, getting attacked by my uncle or being chased by my dad, like weird dreams. And I would wake up almost every morning, look around my apartment, and I would just so relieved that I was out of that. that I was gone. I was living in my apartment and I wasn't really allowed to see my siblings, but my little sister Rachel and my little brother Eskel would sneak out and come over to my house. So it really helped me for sure. Like, they don't even know how much that helped me to feel like I wasn't such a bad person. I wasn't so completely hated. Because no matter what, they still wanted to be a part of my life. But the sad thing is, yeah, they had to sneak out, they had to hide it. But so I did have that, at least. I had my older sister Cami, I had my little brother Eskel, and my little sister Rachel, who would secretly talk to me. They did get in trouble a few times. I think that Eskel got in trouble for talking to me because Dad found out. Like, it's so dumb. And I think my mom started to realize how stupid that was. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to see my family, and I wasn't sure, like, I knew they were talking bad about me. I knew there was a bunch of stuff going on, especially because it was, my escape was so dramatic. It affected a lot of people. It made a lot of people not like me, obviously. I knew that people were talking bad about me to my own siblings, too. That was the thing that hurt me the most, was knowing that my siblings' perspective of me and beliefs of me were changing for the worse, and I couldn't do anything about that because I wasn't allowed to see them. They couldn't hear my side of the story. The hardest thing that I was struggling with at the time was just emotional trauma, because I was like letting it affect me. I had people telling me that I was going straight to Satan's house, and it hurt to know that people who supposedly loved me and cared about me really believed that I was going to burn in hell. Now, if someone were to be like that, I wouldn't affect me at all. I feel like if I died, and here's the thing, 7 years being out, I've realized that looking back at the order and what I was raised in, like, that was hell. So I've been through it, you know? If they were to tell me, Amanda, you're going to hell, I'd be like, baby, I've already been there. I've already seen it. If I were to die tomorrow and go to hell, Satan's all, welcome to hell, I would probably be like, you know what this place could use, Satan? I got a few ideas you might like. And at this time, too, so much was going on. Like, my own half-brother had broken into my mom's house and tore down every single picture of me, and my older sister, because she was out, too. He had torn down all of our pictures, and I think he burned them. He never gave them back. People in the order feel justified to do stuff like that. Like, that's the kind of environment I was running away from. There was so much negativity, and you guys, I know some people, maybe you've seen, like, Escaping Polygamy, or even my own cousins have talked about how sometimes they kind of think about going back because they had no support out here. Every time something like that happened, it just made me so much more thankful that I left. Like, I heard that my half-brother had broken in. My mom didn't even call the cops because my dad was like, we don't call the cops. You know how the order is about cops. I was so thankful that I had left. Like, it just reassured me that I made the right choice. Anyway, I'm still struggling to get a job, struggling with my emotional health and mental health. I felt so, like, out of place all the time. I just felt like everyone could tell there was something wrong with me all the time. Like, I just felt like the minute someone started talking to me, they knew I wasn't normal. And I know that part of that is because I was raised with, you know, my parents telling me that I'll never be accepted by outsiders because my parents are polygamous. And part of it was also the order telling me that outsiders are bad. My whole life, like, outsiders are like this different breed that are nothing like me. All this stuff in my head made it so hard to just have a normal conversation with an outsider without thinking they think something's wrong with me, or me even thinking like, oh, they're so different than what I am. Like, it was so hard for me to connect to anyone. It was hard to survive. Like, I remember I would feel so dumb over this littlest things. Like, the first time I went to an actual bank and I tried to turn in my money, I was so used to how the order does it, where you, like, let's say you turn in $20, then they have to take 10%. So they take $2 and then they give you back $18, right? So I was so used to that. Like, you give them the cash, they take their 10%, and then they give it back to you. So when I went to the bank, I was turning in some cash. I think it was like $50. It was like 2 20s and a 10. And I handed it to them, and I was like, I want to turn this in and then draw out $10. And the guy was like, and he just scooted me the $10 bill. And I was like, I don't think I cried that time. I cried the next time when I didn't know where to get stamps. And then someone had told me you have to go to the bank, and I didn't know how to get stamps from the bank. Like, you just ask the bank teller. And I got a bunch of anxiety because we would get stamps from little things like that would just make me feel so defeated. Like, I don't know how to do these normal things. I remember calling my mom, like, why didn't you teach me where to buy stamps? And my mom was like, Amanda, I don't even know where to buy stamps. Because we would get them from the order. Like, I think it was, like, John's Marketplace would give them to us, and then the office would go to get stamps. So we never knew how to get them from outsiders. And that's one thing that I think the order has done really well in sheltering their people so much so that they're not going to really know how to survive on the outside, in hopes that they'll come back to the order. So eventually, after going to job interview after job interview after job interview, I did get a job, and my very first outside job was at Forever Young Shoes at the Fashion Place Mall. Started working with, it was a lot of young girls too, like me, 18, 17, 16-year-olds. So they would have me greet customers. I was supposed to go to the front and be like, welcome to Forever Young. Is there anything I can help you look for? We're having a 50% off sale, you know? And I was, like, I did not want to do that. So every time a customer would come close to the entrance, I would, like, go to the back because I would just get so much anxiety and my face would get red and I would freeze. It was terrible. And here's the weird thing, you guys. In the order, I talked to everyone. I was social. I was this different person. And then coming out and being surrounded by outsiders who I was told were bad and they're judging you and da-da-da-da-da. It made me so... I just got so much anxiety about it, especially when I wasn't raised around it, you know? I mean, I went to public school for a little bit, and thank goodness, because at least I was halfway normal, I guess. But I hated talking to customers, and my boss noticed, and she was like, you need to go over there and you need to greet customers. So finally I got over that, and the first few times I would just get a red face and I would just keep talking through my red face. Their reaction was like, what's wrong with this girl? And I was just like,
we have shoes for buy one, get one free, they're over there, and we have boots in the clearance section in the back.
And the worst memory I have is they started, I guess girls were stealing, I don't know, stealing shoes, I guess. So they started doing this thing where they would check our purses when we would leave. One time I was walking out and my boss was like, Manda, we need to check your purse. And I was like, it just caught me so off guard and it made me feel so uncomfortable that my face got so red, and I opened it for her and she was staring at me like, are you okay? And I feel like now if that were to happen to me, I would just be like, yep, you're just giving me anxiety. I'm just anxious. But back then I just sat there and like acted like it wasn't happening as she was looking through my purse. Nothing was in there, but I looked so guilty because my face was just red and I was just so awkward. Anyway, so I finally realized that working at that job, I wasn't going to be able to succeed if I couldn't get more hours and more pay. And at this time, I did have support from my adopted family, which I'm gonna explain who my adopted family is. When I was 13, my parents allowed me to go to a public school because there were no private order schools for junior high at the time. So my mom let me and my older sister go to this school on the east side, and I met my best friend Tessa there. I don't know how we just clicked. Sometimes I think that like God sent her to me. It just feels like it was meant to happen. I don't know why I like want to cry over this, but her family was always so supportive of me, and Tessa was always such a good friend. When I got a little bit older, I did tell Tessa about the order and about what I was raised in, and I don't know why I want to cry about this, but I'm just so grateful that I did meet her because I know that they helped me a lot through my journey. So I only had my, oh my gosh, no! My adopted family found out that I was trying to, live on my own, trying to make rent, trying to pay for food, trying to pay for bills, and my adopted family was like, you're gonna come live with us. And so I was like, okay. And I packed up my stuff and I went and moved in with them. And by this time I had quit my job at Forever Young Shoes and I started working at a daycare center. It was 40 hours a week, so I was getting paid more. It was still the same pay, but I was making more money. And I moved in with my adopted family, and it was so weird living with them because like I'm used to paying rent. Like I was paying rent in my own house when I was a minor. So the fact that they would not allow me to pay rent made me feel so uncomfortable. because I was raised like, you pay rent, you know, you pay your way, you're a nuisance, you're in the way. But this adopted family really taught me that I had value, you know, like they would not let me pay rent. They were like, you can eat anything in the fridge, if you need help with anything, just ask or call us. And at first I was like so reluctant to accept their help because it just felt so weird having someone that was willing to be there for you, you know. As a parent, I was the one doing everything for my parents. I was the one taking the kids to school without even having a driver's license because like I felt like that was my duty, you know. You have to help raise the family, you have to help with everything, and otherwise what's your purpose? With them it was like they were asking how they could help me, and I don't know why. That was just, it was so different. I don't want to say my mom didn't unconditionally love me. Like, I know my mom loves me, but I feel like living in this house with my adopted family really, even though it was only a short amount of time that I lived there, I really learned what unconditional love looked like. And I remember, like, the first month I was living there, I saw my best friend Tessa. She sat on her dad's lap and she was like holding him like this, and they were talking and just rocking back and forth. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is so weird. Like, why is she so close with her dad? I felt so uncomfortable being in the same room. And then the longer I lived there, the more I realized, wow, it's because they have a healthy relationship. So a lot of the first like month or two living with them, I cried myself to sleep because I was realizing that I was the one with the dysfunctional life. I never was close with my dad. Like, and here was another thing. When I would come home from work, the dad would be like sitting in the kitchen area looking at a newspaper or something, and he would say, "How was your day? What did you do today?" And every time he would do that, I would be like, I'm in trouble. Oh my gosh, what did I do? Like, I would think about everything that I did wrong. But he just was genuinely wanting to know how my day went. He was treating me like his kid. My dad never did that. If my dad was like, "What'd you do today?" I would be like, oh my gosh, he knows. If my dad were in the kitchen waiting for me to come home, asked me how my day was, I would poop a brick. I would be like, okay, what did I do? Like, did he find my secret cell phone? Does he know that I snuck out last night? What does he know? Because my dad wouldn't just sit down and talk to me. Like, he has 30 kids, 3 wives. Like, why would he sit down and talk to me? Only when I was in trouble. But when I was living with my adopted family, I realized how dysfunctional my family was. I am so grateful for that experience. I know it sounds like I would have a pity party for myself every night, but I think it was really just therapeutic to finally know the difference between healthy and unhealthy, especially relationship with my dad. It helped me work through a lot of things. Like, I don't think they'll ever know how much they helped me out. And I know that I would have been okay if they didn't take me in, because I knew how to work, I knew how to take care of myself. I was street smart at that time. They helped me in other ways, like emotional support and just knowing that I'm worth something. Anyway, I love them, and they know that I love them. I'm still really good friends with Tessa, and I think I want to do a video with her for sure. I want to introduce you guys to them because they are amazing. At this time, I'm still 18. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do, and my adopted family is encouraging me to go to school, and they're willing to pay for it. And the sad thing is I feel like I wish I would have stayed in college back when I was 18, but at this time I was engaged, and all I want to do is just get married, because that was something that I was born and raised to do. You know, they were teaching me as a very young kid that marriage is everything, and like that's your only purpose is to have kids, be a wife, right? So I feel like I put my marriage, which yes, marriage is important, but I put that over everything, and I kind of acted like, I don't know, like I couldn't go to school and be married, I guess, I don't know. And I think it was the stress on top of that of planning a wedding, and then trying to go to school and trying to work to pay for the wedding. I dropped out of college, and I got married, and then I moved out of my adoptive family's house. And it sucks because I didn't go back to school until last year. It took that long for me to get back into school, you guys. And so that's the one regret. That is the one regret I have with my story, is I wish that I would have stayed in school. I am where I'm at today. I'm grateful for where I'm at today. It's been 7 years since I left, and I'm so thankful for all of the people that have helped me throughout my journey. I feel like the emotional struggles was the biggest thing. Like the street smarts and like learning how to do things on the outside, yeah, that was a little bit hard, but the emotional thing was the most hard. And so actually I didn't start getting into therapy until after I was married. I finally started to go to therapy, and that helped so much. I remember thinking, oh, I don't need therapy. Like, therapy's, you know, that stigma that I guess maybe not so much now, but back then I feel like there was like a lot of people saying that you don't go to therapy unless you're crazy. But I went and I really benefited from it. My anxiety started to decrease. My PTSD started to decrease. Therapy was one of the biggest things. I'm going to therapy now. Like, therapy is something that I think everyone needs to go to, not just someone who left a cult. Anyways, I'm still surviving on the outside. I'm doing a lot better than I was back then, that's for sure. I feel like my mental health is so, like, it's skyrocketing compared to what it was. I know myself enough to know, like, when something is getting too much or when I'm needing a break. And I still have been working on having a relationship with my family. That's definitely changed too. Like, I am more allowed to have a relationship with them. That's my story. It's been a long journey up until now, but now I've been out for 7 years, and I would still will tell you I would never go back. Ever. I am grateful for the positive things that I learned from the order, but I'm just going to leave the negative in the past, and I'm going to keep moving forward. And I'm so grateful for you guys, that you guys are interested in my life and in following me on my journey. A lot of you I've talked to personally and messaged, and some of you I've even met in person, and I really appreciate I've found my community and my purpose out in this world. Coming from a community from the order and to nothing, and to now being able to feel like I have a place, if that makes sense. Anyways, as always, thank you so much for watching, and if you have any ideas of anything else that you'd want to know about my life, my journey, any questions you have for me, leave them in the comments down below. I'm going to try to get back to the comments. It's lately, because I've been working and doing school, I'll see a comment and then I'll know what I want to respond to and what I want to say to you guys, but I don't have the time, so I'll screenshot it. And I have all these screenshots of all these questions. I might just do a whole video responding to them all. But let me know what you guys think and what you guys want to see next, and I will see you in the next video.